Welcome to another episode of the Read Pile. Today I'm talking about Flex Mentallo, and in my last couple of videos I was talking about how I've been working my way through my miscellaneous shelf. This, for some reason, was on that shelf, even though a couple of years ago I rearranged the DC and Vertigo shelves. For some reason this didn't make it on there, so I have been wanting to reread this for a while. I pulled it off the shelf this week. I read this over a couple of days. I think I started Monday, I finished Friday. It's only 4 issues. It's not particularly long. As I'm flipping back through it, there's things that I read yesterday that I see are referenced earlier in the book, and I'm like, even though it was separated by only a couple of days, like, I just want to read this again in one sitting so I can catch everything now with fresh eyes. There's a lot of elements that I think could be overlooked and would reward a reread. This book is just jam-packed with ideas, but I want to start by talking about Grant Morrison, Frank Quitely. Quitely I praise at every opportunity. I don't think I've talked much about Grant Morrison on this channel, but I do have some of his books. I want to reread those, so inevitably I will get to more Grant Morrison books. If you can find this, I definitely recommend grabbing this. It's an incredible piece. Both the writing and the art, just spectacular. It's a high point, I think, for both of them. It was originally published as a 4-issue series in '96, and that blows my mind thinking about it, because I think this is very forward-thinking, for sure. It seems out of place amongst 1996 stories, and it still feels contemporary today. Part of that is certainly the art. Quitely, as I said, is just the absolute best. He's amazing. So what this is about, there are 2 parallel stories, one involving this guy and the other involving Flex. And I do love that he spends most of the series just walking around in this long coat and trunks, nothing else. It's fantastic. So this guy here is kind of going through a bit of a crisis. No pun intended, coming from DC. But he's someone having a breakdown. This is early on in the book. In a few pages, he's going to take a bunch of drugs. He's going to try to commit suicide. He spends most of the series talking on the phone, but is he talking to anybody, or is he just holding a phone up against his head? Talking about comics, talking about where ideas come from, talking about reality. His story is incredibly interesting. I find he has some of the best material. It's a very trippy series. If you like your stories to be tied up in a neat little bow, all plot lines explained, I's dotted, T's crossed, maybe this isn't for you. This, I think, is open to interpretation as far as what happens, what is happening. The boundary between fiction and reality, it's very trippy. But I was saying there are 2 stories. Flex is investigating a missing friend. He's searching for a friend. This guy, as I said, is mostly trying to kill himself. But, spoilers, he ultimately fails, and there's a question about whether or not he took pills or M&Ms, but you have to read it if you want an explanation for that. There are a few things in this that make me think even more so. Like I said a minute ago that this felt like a book out of time. This could very easily be published now and it would still feel contemporary. There's nothing that makes this feel dated, but there are certainly elements like this that remind me of Hickman's Avengers. There's a superhero orgy that I'm trying not to show over on this page that's happening of all places in a sewer, and that made me think of Powers. There are injectable superpowers, which other stories have done. It's chock full of ideas. I want to say it's dense with ideas, but it's not actually a dense read. It's just incredibly good. I'm trying not to say much. I've shot Fantastic Four videos, Hickman's Fantastic Four, and those, I go through the book literally page by page, and I give a play-by-play. Ordinarily, that's not how I do these things. I give, ideally, just enough information to entice someone in to read it without spoiling things. That's how I like to enjoy my media, movies, TV, comics, whatever. I don't want to be spoiled. I just want to be enticed enough. I want just enough information to get me interested, and then I want to learn no additional information. It's incredibly good. If you are somehow unfamiliar with both of these guys, it's incredibly good. They are both masters of comic books, and I highly recommend it. It's difficult to encapsulate what this book is. I think I talked fiction versus reality. I do like that Flex knows he started out as a fictional character and got pulled into the real world. Although, is his world any more real than anyone else's? It's super interesting. Highly recommended. This is jam-packed with ideas. It will make you question quite a few things, and I loved it. Highly recommended.